Let me finish with your crazy self. Speaking of evidence, you keep telling everyone who will listen that me not wanting to pay child support is the reason behind your daughter's life being taken. Being that you were there every day of my trial, I'm sure you recall that child support was never offered up as a possibility motive by the prosecution. Actually, the only time the topic of child support was ever mentioned happened during cross-examination of Michael Kennedy. Remember? My defense attorney, David Rudolph, had Kennedy expand on the admission he accidentally leaked during the tape portion of the official statement that he gave on the night he was arrested, that the Charlotte PD had actually been the ones to start that rumor. And outside of you and the media, it ended there. Ask for a copy of the transcript of Kennedy's testimony or his official statement. It's right there in black and white. Who cares if the motive? I mean, you want me to fight over apples and oranges now. So now you want to make the situation whether you want to make this case about whether or not it's accurate that you killed her over her wanting to have the baby as opposed to having an abortion. How about we just continue to focus on why you wanted her gone? Let's just stop right. Let's just keep it there. Let's just focus on you wanted her gone for whatever reason. Okay? Thank you. All right. God, God. Uh, with all due respect, ma'am, long before child support would have became a worry, I would have had the first deal with the issue of establishing paternity and not an abortion. The main cause of any contention between Sharika and me, and her own doctor could confirm this. Due to the nature of our relationship, our common knowledge that we both were sexually active with multiple partners, and the pertinent factors, it wasn't exactly given that the child that Sharika was carrying was mine. You yourself can attest to this because after laying eyes on Chancellor, you and your lawyer still forced me to take a DNA test. Fear of paying child support was not the reason for all of this. Unfortunately, it was much more complicated than that. Mhm. By the way, during my stay at the Mecklenburg jail there in Charlotte, visitation was once every Wednesday for 15 minutes. The visits were no contact, so I had to communicate through a telephone receiver while locked into a booth that sat one on each side and separated from my visitor by a partition glass. There were 4 or 5 of these booths total, and absolutely no space available for any reporter or camera crews. This was the scene. The one time my mother was granted permission by you to bring my son to see me, and would have continued to be the scene had you not forbidden her from ever bringing him back. For you to claim that I once ended a visit with Chancellor after 10 minutes because of no news media being present to capture the moment is extremely hurtful and an outright lie. It's also something that never would have been possible given the schematics of the visitation room and the jail's safety, security, and privacy rules. Also, this actually goes against my nature when you take into account my apprehension with dealing with the news media, which has all been well documented since the days of my University of Colorado. And if that's not enough to put the lie to trust that the sheer shame, disappointment, and embarrassment I feel for even being put in such a predicament would have never allowed me to try to pull such a stunt. Now, come on, Miss Adams. Had the incident actually occurred, I find it extremely difficult to believe you and the prosecution wouldn't have found a way to use it against me during my trial. At the very least, you would have made sure that the story ended up on the 6 o'clock news. For you to come out and make this claim years later is very suspect. So, but moving on, in recent years, you have openly expressed your willingness to allow me to have a relationship with my son. My thoughts is that if such a thing were ever to come to fruition, I will be eternally grateful. I'd give anything to have an opportunity to do right by Chancellor and play a meaningful role in his life. I mean, come on, Miss Chancellor. The reality is you're not going to be around forever. And at some point, someone else will have to be responsible for Chancellor's care. That being said, of course, when that time comes, I would like for to be in a position to seriously be considered as a viable option. To be honest, though, your words on this matter tend to ring hollow. I mean, it's one thing to make these kind of remarks to the public during the interview, but a whole nother thing entirely to follow through with me on behind closed doors. Ask yourself, Mrs. Adams, what steps have you personally taken to lay the groundwork for this relationship to actually happen? Um, I'll tell you again what I've done. Back in 2015, when I was first made aware of you warming up to the idea of getting to know my son, I was elated. So much so that I sat down the same day and wrote you a letter that included visitation forms for you and Chancellor, along with a request for your phone number and permission to call. It's been almost 3 years, bitch. Since I mailed that letter, and to this day, I haven't heard back from you, nor was the letter returned. I'm sure you'll claim that you have never received it or any sort of thing like that, but that's okay. I already anticipated that you would go that route. That's why I'm renewing my offer right here out in the open, Mrs. Adams. I have 8 months left here in North Carolina. And if you would come and see me so that we can sit down and talk in person, or so that you could introduce me to my son, I will gladly send the proper paperwork to make this possible. And if by chance you're not up for a visit at this time, I would hope that you would at least forward me your number so that I can give you a call. Why? So you can finish the job on both of them this time, probably. Like I mentioned earlier in this letter, in the beginning of my incarceration, you would write, send updated photos of my son, and fill me in on how he was doing. However, this all came to an abrupt end when my mother's lawyer presented this information as evidence in court during the custody and visitation issue that the two of you had litigated, and that my mother ultimately lost. Ray Caru's mother is also a piece of work. I know where he gets his narcissism from. During the trial, I don't know if y'all can go back and look at some of this. The mother started a Facebook fan club, and she was posing and doing all this stuff for the camera. It was totally insane. You could see she was taking the opportunity for her 15 minutes of fame. I've tried reaching out to you a few times since then, but my efforts were in vain. I'm still being punished, I suppose, for exposing the fact that we had been in touch and that you were being civil towards me, which leaves me dumbfounded because if you're being genuine about me having a relationship with Chancellor, what are you waiting for? It would not be sensible and beneficial for us to begin the process of laying the foundation for this relationship. I mean, wouldn't it be? Would it be not sensible and beneficial for us to begin the process of laying this foundation for the relationship as soon as possible? This dude got demands. They telling you what he want. This dude has got not a humble ounce of nothing in him to be responsible for somebody being taken off the planet. The boy's mother. Letters, phone calls, visits, all of this will go a long way in us building familiarity with one another, establishing a level of comfort and rapport, and also allowing Chancellor and me to have the opportunity to bond. I saw where you guys are now visiting prisons and talking to inmates. Well, I can't think of a better prison. Okay, let me take a deep breath. Woosah. Well, I can't think of a better prison for the two of you to come visit than mine. More of a significant inmate for you to talk to than me. Why has this not already happened, or at the very least been planned for the future? Perhaps because you truly haven't forgiven me after all. And if she haven't, so freaking what? Or is it because you yourself only desire to contact me on the basis that there will be reporters and TV crews present to capture the moment and neatly package it for public consumption? And if this isn't the case, why continue to advertise the fact that you and Chancellor plan on being there outside the prison to greet me the day of my release, which is guaranteed to ensure a massive media and public presence, but make no effort to spend any time with me on the inside of the prison prior to my release, where the press would not be welcome? Mrs. Adams, it would mean everything to me to be able to know and have a relationship with my son. However, if this can be achieved privately and discreetly without Scott Fowler's and Eric Bryant's of the world at your beck and call, then unfortunately I'll have to pass. As far as October 22nd, 2018 is concerned, I refuse to be a part of what's obviously another of your well thought calculated plays to further disgrace me while at the same time exploiting my son and his condition for personal gain and 15 minutes of more notoriety and attention. Sorry, I seriously cannot participate in such a shameful, blatant charade. In ending, Mrs. Adams, if you don't mind, I'd like you to meditate on something for me. In life, it is our actions that provide evidence of truthfulness to our words. Saying something without the corroboration actions to back it up. What I'm getting here is that if you truly have forgiven me, as you have verbally attested to on so many different occasions, then why not act on that forgiveness? Stop misleading the public about your knowledge of me and the true nature of my relationship with your daughter, because every time you speak negatively against me, it goes against your claim of forgiveness. Really? Really? Oh, damn. Especially when you're saying this, what you're saying is untrue. And ma'am, if you're being sincere when you say that you'd like me to be a part of Chancellor's life, maybe stop using this refrain and press bait and actually follow through. No news media, no audience, no hidden agendas, just you and me stepping out on faith and treating this delicate, sensitive situation with care, decency, and the respect it deserves. Ball's in your court. You and Chancellor take care and be blessed. Respectfully, Ray L. Caruth. Wow, Ray. Just plain wow. Y'all marinate on that for a minute. And I want to know. Please give me some feedback. Tell me what y'all think. Is it me? And I'm going to try to be as objective as possible. But I welcome your opinion. I want to know what y'all think about Ray's apology letter. And do you think he should be allowed to have spend any time with his child? Really? After hearing this letter in detail. I know I made a video before, but I wasn't as detailed as now. So please give me your feedback. And if you like what you hear, please like, subscribe, and share. I'll see you next time in the Mental House Sports Edition. Bye-bye.